to White, over to Caruso for the lead! Time here, turn up the 18! Woo!
Hello and welcome back to Sea Red UK, where quite simply is Chicago Bulls in. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever you're listening, rate, review, subscribe, helps us out and ensures you don't miss another episode. And if you're lucky enough to be watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, give us a thumbs up and leave some comments down below. I'm Matt, and as usual, joined by Neill. How are we doing, Neill?
I'm okay. I'm enjoying your background music there, Matt. It's keeping me entertained.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a nightmare, aren't we? Anybody who's watching on YouTube and probably listening on the audio will probably be able to tell I'm not in my normal surroundings. So I may look a little bit distracted. I'm currently sat in a motorway services, hence the background music, and people keep walking past and looking at me like I'm an absolute idiot. But it's our first ever Sea Red UK with an audience.
There you go. Do they know that they're part of the audience, though?
No, they ain't got a clue what I'm doing. They just think I'm an idiot sat talking to myself, I think. But, you know, and I don't actually know how loud, so the whole services might actually be able to hear it. But if you don't enjoy our content, at least you've got some background music.
This is true.
So, yeah, apart from that, how are you?
Okay. I'm surprisingly awake, considering running on fumes, really. But then I didn't have to drive a truck all day like you did. I only had to kind of look after children and answer emails. So you got it worse than me.
Yeah, obviously 3 a.m. tip last night against Kings. Finished at 5:30, and I literally turned the ignition on at 5:30, and that was it. Started work. So I've been a little bit out of it today in terms of catching up on content and stuff like that. But here we are doing another pod, and we go again tomorrow with another game. So get out there while we can. So yeah, last episode, obviously, we predicted the 4 games in between that and this episode. Obviously, Pistons, Cavs, Bucks, Kings. I think I went, we'd beat Pistons and then lose 3. And did you split them?
Yeah, I split them.
With a win against Kings and Pistons, wasn't it?
A wing against Kings and a wing against Pistons. A win. Even.
Something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
But, I mean, you got the split right, just not the games right.
Right.
So obviously, we had one of the most disappointing losses of the season, or the most disappointing loss of the season, probably. To Pistons, 105-95. Next night, we go out and beat Cavs in double overtime, 132-123. We then lose to Bucks on Saturday, 113-97. And then last night, comeback Kings, strike again, clutch Kings, whatever you want to call them. But not the Kings winning. It was Bulls that win. 113-109. And yeah, it's. I put out in that tweet last night this final score. Does anyone understand this team?
No.
And
the roller coaster continues.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not going to go in too much into the games. That the loss against Pistons was just enjoying the music. Yeah, the loss against Pistons, what was it, 2 or 29 from 3?
Yeah.
And then it kind of continued into the there's just some guy walking on with a weird sweeping brush at the minute. Told you I'd get distracted. Yeah, and then it was kind of continued at the start of the Cavs game, didn't it?
Yes.
Obviously, Cavs game did bring the first real sighting of Onwell Bittim, or Bittim, as Tim Sinclair has told us his surname is. Obi, we'll just call him Obi because it stops any. Obviously, he got more minutes against Bucks in what was it was ruined by the refs that game.
It really was.
And then our Saturday was ruined by Bucks fans trying to get involved on Twitter, which as soon as I just replied with sarcasm, they just lost interest, I think. And
yeah.
But I can see why Matt Peck always says he hates Bucks fans because
they
annoyed me.
And to be fair, I never really had anything against Bucks fans until the whole Grayson Allen, Alex Caruso thing, and the way it was handled by Bucks Nation, I guess.
Yeah.
After that, and that left a sour taste in my mouth that will probably linger along with the Knicks and the Pistons sour taste from the 80s and the 90s. And I think that music's getting louder, by the way.
80s and 90s. Yeah, I mean, the Bucks game, obviously, what the tweets that they were replying to was the fact that I'd highlighted that Giannis got 16 trips to the line and Bulls also got 16 trips to the line.
Right.
And they basically replied with like crying gifs and just been idiots basically. But I was tired and in a bit of an arse, so I did bite and then shut them down with sarcasm. So, but obviously you shut them down with the fact that you went to watch Bucks when they've probably never been to watch Bucks. So,
right.
Anyway, enough about that. After that game, it was just Pat Bev, Bobby Portis did what they needed to do, got in our heads just dropped. I mean, we was only 8 down when Vooch got ejected for that flagrant 2, which, all right, it was a bad foul. But the thing that annoyed me about it the most is the fact that Vooch has apologised and said he was going out of his way to speak to, was it AJ Green or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
AJ Cooper,
yeah,
I don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
And look, I get it, Vooch is a nice guy. But don't apologise. Do what Demar did. Go after Bobby Portis and then say, when he, obviously comes out in his after thing saying it was a disrespect by Portis and doing what he did. And, I just, I didn't see the need for Vooch to apologise. I didn't think it was that bad, to be fair. Pat Bev was Pat Bev, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Telling us it was his city and stuff like that. And it's like, it's your city, but you wanted 15 million to stay there.
Right.
So, get gone. You know what I mean? Just highlighted the game for me. Ayo flattening Pat Bev. There was a flop. It was a flop.
It was a flop.
Hopefully that 15 million that he wanted to stay in Chicago is now had to spend $5,000 on a fine or whatever the fine is for flopping. But because it's not against the Bulls, I don't even know how much them fines have actually stuck around, to be fair. I know Javon Carter.
Yeah, they were the hot ticket at the start of the season, but they seem to have died off, which often happens when they try and enforce new rules. It kind of fades away.
Yeah. And then, I mean, obviously, Bucks game gone. We go against Kings last night, first game on this West Coast road trip, which is just playing havoc with our week in it, really. 3 a.m. tip, 2 a.m. tip, 3 a.m. tip, 9 p.m. tip. Nobody expected that, I don't think, against Kings.
Well, I called it.
Probably not in the manner, though.
No, certainly not in that manner. No.
Was it 22?
22 points. 22-point down.
Yeah, we went. Was it 14 down, and then we took the lead, and then we went 22 down, and then took the lead, and eventually won it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if you've got anything on the games before we move on.
Just that I missed the initial surge because I was having problems with my feed of my league pass, and I ended up having to give up in the end and go upstairs, and I ended up waking the missus to get my iPad off my side table. So I was expecting to be in a bit of trouble this morning, but I got away with it.
Is that after spraying your aftershave before you went downstairs as well?
Yeah. I don't know what that was about. I got accused of putting on aftershave and leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "No, I'm just going downstairs to watch Bulls." I didn't put on anything. The only thing I put on was a snooty to stay warm. That was it.
But yeah, as we said at the start, we're just having a bit of a nightmare week, really. I mean, I've even lost the fluffy bit on my microphone, which you told me would have drowned out the background music, but
it would have helped a bit at least.
So obviously, sort of moving into what we actually want to talk about tonight. It kind of come about, obviously, on last night's performance mainly, but also, I'm not going to get into it too much, but there's a lot going around on Twitter at the minute in terms of creators calling other creators out, Twitter accounts out, whatever it is. basically people saying, if you're not going to speak or you've got nothing to say about the team, then stop creating and all this sort of crap. It's
As in, like, positive.
yeah.
Yeah.
And certain accounts coming out saying, I've got nothing to tweet about the Bulls. What do I tweet about them? And it's just like, look, we're not going to sit here and tell people how to fan the Bulls.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. You want to be positive, you want to be negative.
Yeah.
Just basically do you. We appreciate obviously being tagged in all of this sort of stuff as one of the creators and blah blah blah. But we're not going to get into it too much, are we? It's
No.
just
No.
we've been there, and it doesn't end well usually. So, but obviously, what come out of it is, for me anyway, was the question of like a lot of people saying that they're done with this Bulls team, but yet they're still watching the games. And to me, it's like I've said time and time again that I'm done with this Bulls team. And I don't mean I'm done with them. Basically, I think I've just lowered my expectations. And at this point of the season now, if we can make the play-in successful and push on and blah blah blah, then to me that's a success. But away from that, it was kind of like what has been other successes for us, really, wasn't it? And we saw it last night. And the title of the episode is Ayoby, basically Ayo Dosunmu and Coby White. And the question I've got for you before we start it all is this the backcourt of the future? Would you be happy if next season, as early as next season, obviously, it was basically right, Coby at 1, Ayo at 2. That's it. That's what we're going with.
Okay, so basically, in saying that, what we're saying is that Lonzo doesn't return, and Zach is given the boot during the off season as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, obviously, don't want to talk too much about the off season because we haven't got a clue what's going to happen. But
no, of course,
for obviously the purposes of this, yeah, Lonzo done. Whether he's off the team altogether, that's a whole new episode, isn't it? He's coming back apparently. But yeah, it's Lonzo's gone, and we find a trade for Zach.
Right. So if that's the case, and you're telling me that we're going to be putting Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu as the starting backcourt from next season, I say absolutely, let's do it. I'm all for it. I think the two of them have proved themselves more and more as the season has progressed. I think a lot of what Ayo is achieving is getting a little bit lost in all the Coby talk because Ayo's having one hell of a season. I mean, considering he had a sophomore slump last season, and people, including myself, were talking about him maybe not staying and being moved on. I think we've definitely seen the potential that is there going forward. They're young, they're reasonably priced at this stage anyway. And for that very reason, I think to build from that, maybe not necessarily build around that, but build from that. That's a building block moving forward. I'm all for it. All for it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, last week's episode, obviously, if you haven't listened to it, go back and check it out. We spoke about developing the back end of the roster. We purposely didn't speak about Ayo and Coby because everybody is, really.
Yeah.
Obviously, quick side note on it all. Ayo actually won our February Player of the Month.
He did.
Obviously for last month, which ended Coby's streak. Coby had won it for December and January. Caruso won the first one. So the fact that these two players are reigning and previous Player of the Month says to me that they've got to be the highlight of the season. The way they've developed. A lot is being said about, can Ayo be a starter? Is he better off the bench? And initially, yeah, that's where I'd have put him. I mean, at the start of the season, I'd put Coby on the bench, to be fair, but
Mhm.
as a lot of Bulls Nation would, because we wanted Javon Carter to start.
Yeah. How's that working out for you?
Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, obviously, if there's going to be moves made, there has to be moves made. If they're bringing any more guards, that might potentially push Ayo back to the bench, or if Zach does stay, you can't not have Zach in the starting lineup, whether you like it or not. And yeah, it's just I've got the stats for this season so far. Like obviously, Coby has played the most minutes out of everybody in the NBA, which is just ridiculous. 61 games, and he's averaging 19.6 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 5.3 assists. Now, obviously, last night he set his career high in Sacramento, beating his previous career high, which he set in Sacramento. So he owns Sacramento. And you kind of want to see him get above 20 points, I'd say. Because obviously there's all this talk about is he the most improved? And I think last I heard he was second in the sort of the running for it behind Tyrese Maxey. And obviously, as Bulls fans, we want to see him get that. It's like I've said time and time again. Has he done anything that stands out in the NBA compared to other players? And it's like you asked me last night, was that the game for him? And it could well be, because he'd been through this little slump out as well, hadn't he, previous?
Yeah.
And I mean, was it a slump? It was a shooting slump, possibly. But he was still affecting the game.
Absolutely.
His rebounding,
absolutely.
His defense, his assists. So, like I say, if you can just get that above 20 points, I think he's more in the running for that most improved, personally.
I also think if we can get to the elusive 500, he's more in the running then too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the players who are supposedly around him in the running for it. You've got Tyrese Maxey, obviously at Sixers. Can you put him down as most improved?
See, I guess that's the thing. Like he's made an improvement on his previous season, but it's not like a career-changing jump like Coby's.
Yeah, he's not affected. I mean, all right, he's kind of running that team now with the Embiid injury.
Yeah,
but they're not doing fantastic. They're not, I don't know what their actual record is, what they've won or lost at the minute, but he's not doing anything different to what Coby's doing, in my opinion. And you got Scotty Barnes. Raptors have made the decision to build around Scotty Barnes, yet they're not even in the playing picture. And he's basically one of two players on that team that's scoring at the minute. And then I think the other one is Alperen Sengun at Rockets.
Yeah.
Who I was looking at the standings yesterday and I didn't realise how far they'd fallen. So has he fallen off at the same time? Do you know what I mean?
Well, he seems to do pretty good for my fantasy league team, so he can't have fallen off too far.
But the thing is, like, apart from Maxey, none of the players are on teams that are above 500.
Yeah.
I don't know what Rockets are at the minute, but I'm assuming they're not above 500.
But that's entirely my point. You see, if the Bulls get above 500, I think that pushes Coby into pole position.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously he's not going to be in the running, but would you put Ayo anywhere close for the running?
See, this is the thing. If you go based on stats for the season, if you go based on the improvement from last year to this year, Ayo should absolutely be in that conversation just as much as Coby is. But like I say, I think he's been shadowed a little bit by what Coby has been achieving and the fact that Coby is the primary ball handler for the Chicago Bulls now and he's starting every single game. that's why Coby is going to hold that position over Ayo, who's been coming off the bench and not necessarily holding a specific role when he's on the court.
Yeah, and I mean, like Ayo's stats, 59 games, obviously started off the bench a lot of the time. I can't remember how many games he started now, but 10.8 points, which is higher than his career, 2.8 rebounds and 2.9 assists, which I think were lower, just a bit lower than his career.
Right.
But obviously, probably high. Well, in fact, it won't be higher usage because he was starting a lot last season as well, wasn't he? So,
yeah, be lower usage.
Yeah, or pretty much on par, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd definitely say Ayo deserves some recognition for that award.
Yeah, I'm not saying he should get it, but I think he should at least be part of the conversation. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to get lost among the reeds because of what Coby's been doing.
Yeah, which, look, you only have to listen to Coby's after-match stuff. Coby doesn't take praise. LeBron James says he doesn't take praise, but Coby doesn't actually give himself praise either. So
I would just like to apologise to all our listeners for Matt's use of bad language there, saying the name LeBron James.
Yeah, well, you enjoyed that clip of Lou Dort this morning.
I very much enjoyed that clip of Lou Dort this morning. And as I said in our group earlier on today, I'm only waiting for someone to put a little fly or a wasp or something buzzing around and landing on LeBron's head before Lou Dort gives it a smack. So, hopefully there's somebody creative out there that can do that.
But yeah, obviously, I don't expect to see him as the starting backcourt next season. I don't know why. I just think if any of them, obviously Coby will be there. I think it's Ayo that drops off.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's particularly a knock on Ayo if it does happen. It's just. Ayo's playing some big minutes at the minute as well. We know that Coby's leading the NBA, Demar's second in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Ayo is actually better off the bench. I don't know why.
You said that all last season about Coby.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just, Ayo started the game last night with, 7 of the first 9 Bulls points?
Yeah. He started off on fire.
It's just, I don't know. It's just hard to say, because we just don't know what the team's going to look like next year. But for me, what we're seeing at the minute, I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I think, like I say, it's because I've just basically lowered my expectations. I'm not expecting Bulls to make the playoffs. And like we said last week, we just want to see him develop these players now. And these two are, I know you could throw P. Will in there, but that's a whole new episode with his contract and everything like that.
His injury is really scuppered that whole plan, so it's a bit of an unknown quantity now.
Yeah, so, I remember at the start of the season, I put out a poll of who would have the biggest breakout year between the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Coby won it. And I think Ayo was actually second. So
okay,
it's pretty much gone as predicted, basically.
Yeah.
Obviously, just on the back of it as well, something we wanted to touch on was Demar DeRozan.
Mm-hmm.
King of the Fourth was back last night, wasn't he?
He was. Yeah, very much.
And it was good to see. And I personally don't think. I don't know. I struggle with Demar because obviously we don't know again what's happening with him next year. Is he coming back?
True.
Does he want to be? Does he want to go somewhere else? Does he want to chase a ring? But the one thing that I think has really been shown through Demar this year is that mentor side of him. That video that I sent you before, where he comes in as Coby and Ayo are doing the their after-match thing, and is my young ones, and
Mhm.
people forget how, because it's all about Demar and Dalen at the minute, but they forget how he took Ayo under his wing in his rookie year. Went down to, mind's gone blank, down to his jersey, rafter jersey to the rafters, wasn't it, in
Yep.
Champagne or whatever it is. Was it Champagne?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, my mind went blank then, tired. And then that seemed to disappear last season. That it looked like it had disappeared, that relationship, didn't it? But I kind of think to myself now, is Demar chasing a ring, or is he looking at leaving a different kind of legacy?
Mhm.
And if he can have an impact on Ayo, Coby, he will. Dalen, he's left something there for Bulls to work with.
He has.
And is that now more important to him than chasing a ring and making one come back next year?
Maybe.
So then, I know we flit on this one, but would you want to see Demar back next year?
Yeah. See, I think my opinion is the same as it was the last time we talked about it. To be fair, I've never said that I don't like Demar. I've never said that I don't appreciate his game and appreciate what he does both on and off the floor for the Chicago Bulls. My only question is how well it fits in with the future of the team and the team moving forward. So to answer the question, I guess I don't mind if he comes back, but he has to come back on a reasonable deal. And by saying that, it doesn't necessarily have to be completely team friendly, but I don't want it to be a 3 or 4 year deal. I don't want it to be a player option. I want it, if there's going to be an option in there, I want it to be a team option, and I'd prefer it to be a 2 year deal, not a 3 or 4 year deal. But I think at this stage of his career, he's probably going to be looking for a 4 year deal to close out, isn't he?
Yeah, because what is he, be 35 going into next season?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do the same. 2 years, and like you say, team option for the third, and then look at the fourth if he still wants to be around. You know what I mean? By that point, I'd imagine that his value is gonna drop a lot more as he gets older. But I mean, obviously, people don't want to see it because they don't want to see continuity. But since that Celtics game where we went 5-14, obviously, it took us to 5-14 on the start of the season, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The Bulls' record, obviously, that I said to you before, is 24-18 since then.
Yeah.
And that has been with Zach going out injured, P. Will going out injured, Torrey Craig in and out injured. And this is what kind of goes back to this whole thing of what are people looking at, these people that are saying they're out on the team, because if we hadn't have had that start and we'd have picked up another couple of wins and stuff like that, where would this team be now? And it is kind of been led by Demar with his young uns, as he said. You know what I mean? So would that, or can that carry on into next season? Knowing that these young uns are now stepping up a little bit. And further down the line, we're seeing the likes of Julian Phillips get. I mean, last night he got solid fourth quarter minutes.
He did.
And, obviously Dalen seems to have dropped out of the rotation again at the minute. But when Dalen's been in, we're seeing solid minutes out of him. And they're becoming legit rotation pieces for next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that, to me, that's the question. What is going to be there is, will it, transition into next season? Let you talk.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on what Demar wants to do and what way he wants to kind of taper out the rest of his legacy, the rest of his career. Because if he's prepared to hand the baton to his young'uns and nurture them and bring them on. And as he brings them through, he's prepared to kind of regress and step back a little bit. So it becomes this kind of natural arc where he hands it over and then he starts to allow himself, not necessarily to decline, but to take a step back role as they come through. It's only going to become a problem and stagnate if they kind of clash in the middle, where Demar's trying to hand it over to the young guys, but at the same time, he's not prepared to relinquish his role at the same time. Because if he does that, then that's just not going to work. But if he is prepared to hand it over, then I don't see any reason why that couldn't become conducive to the future of the Bulls becoming a brighter prospect.
Yeah, I just had to mute my mic then because the guy's upgraded his sweeping brush into a mechanical sweeper and it's making a hell of a noise. And he's just walking around in circles right next to me. 2 seconds.
No problem. Yeah, I'll keep talking. Don't worry. I was afraid for a second there that you'd got the Bucket Boys in or something. They were like when you hit mute button. But yeah, I guess for me anyway, Demar is an interesting prospect going forward because, like I've said in the past as well, I don't necessarily think that his game is going to drop off a cliff anyway. I think it's going to age quite well, age quite gracefully, his game. I mean, I think we've already kind of seen there is a bit of a decline in Demar's game, but then there's these elements of it that look ageless. I mean, and he even then beats Father Time with that 360 reverse layup that he did there. Things like that come out of the bag, and or he'll throw down a dunk, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, Demar's still got it. But it all that kind of thing will become less and less and less, as it did with the GOAT back in the day with Michael Jordan. He couldn't carry on being this high flyer. He could still do it, but it wasn't like every third or fourth play down the lane he was going to be going for a high flying dunk or a high flying layup. It became an evolution of his game, and I think you already see that in Demar, who already had that mid-range game kind of nailed anyway. That will become more of his game and less of, and maybe even the 3-point shot will become more of his game and less of the getting into the lane and getting as close as he does to the basket. I know it's still mid-range, but it will become a little bit further out even again, I think.
Yeah, and I think we've seen improvements in that this season. I mean, he hit 1, maybe 2 last night.
Yeah, definitely it was 1 anyway. I can't remember exactly.
Even the ones that he takes, they're in the rhythm of the game, aren't they? So it's not like he's forcing them in any sort of way. And yeah, I mean, I think I asked you this question about Zach, but if Demar wasn't at Bulls at the minute, for example, and he was doing what he's doing now, and he was becoming a free agent as he is, would he be on your radar as a possible free agent pickup? Money dependent and all that sort of stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you were seeing DeMar DeRozan's name in the listings of available free agents, and we were looking to pick up somebody in free agency, yeah, I'd definitely be interested in DeMar. Yeah, 100%.
And I mean, obviously, we spoke about Ayo and Coby at the start and how we want them to be the backcourt of the future, or the possible backcourt of the future.
Yeah.
They're still showing that they need that veteran mentorship, leadership.
Yeah.
They've got a vet in Demar that they trust. And he obviously loves his young'uns, and it's so is that more beneficial to bring him back knowing that than let him go and it's like, well, who leads this team now?
Yeah, but that brings it full circle back around to what I said. It depends on the cost. It depends on how much cap space it's going to require in order to retain him, because we're already playing within the margins as it is. And if we want to improve and not just go back into the same situation that we've been in for the last 3 years, I'm not going to use the same swear word you use because I think everybody's done with that. But
we've got a new
one.
We've got a new one now.
We do. It's another C word, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
we're not going to say that. Well,
No, we're not going to get into any of that.
They have been.
They have been. Yeah, in fairness, they certainly were in a couple of the games anyway. But yeah, no, I can't remember what I was saying now. Yeah, it depends on the cost of Demar as to whether or not it becomes worthwhile, I guess. Because I suppose the other thing as well is he's not the only mentor. He's potentially the most involved mentor with the young guys, but he's not the only mentor to the young guys. I mean, we still have AC, who is an incredible mentor as well. Torrey Craig seems to have taken the position where he's a bit of a mentor to the guys too. So I think we're not exactly devoid of mentorship. It's just that Demar is the obvious primary candidate.
Yeah, I mean, and just obviously on Caruso, we've got one more year of him left, so then that his mentorship possibly goes. Torrey Craig is player option for next year, isn't he?
Yeah.
Hopefully he takes it.
Yeah.
I think he will, to be honest. I think he kind of, from what you see, he likes being in Chicago. Same with Drummond last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll be waiting, and then it'll be like, yeah, I'll take it. And that is kind of what you expect, and that's why we hate these player options, because it's like we want an answer now, not 2 days before training camp.
I mean, I understand that they're a bit of a carrot that's dangled in front of the player in order to get them to sign by giving them player options, but at the same time, it really does relinquish the power to the player completely. And if you're trying to create something and you're trying to build a team for the front office, those player options, they're a real pain in the ass, really, because like you say, you're left hanging. You don't know until more often than not, it's a last minute decision. And at that stage, other moves that could have been potentially made may have been let go through the net. Yeah. And that's why I either prefer a straight contract or a team option. I don't really like the player options.
Yeah, and I think is Lonzo actually on a player option?
Do you know what? I have no clue. I used to know the Lonzo contract backwards, but I have no clue anymore what it is because I put it out of my mind.
I'll just try and quickly. I'm sure I've read it was.
Well, I would presume that if Lonzo has a player option, he would be a bit of a fool not to exercise it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look at it now. I mean, it is always going to, 24-25 is a player option of 21.3 million.
Yeah.
Whether
who's going to take on a player who's been out for 3+ years and is an unknown quantity, regardless of what he was before he got injured. And then, he's going to go off and what chances are I'm trying to get somewhere else? No. Whereas he could just get a straight 21-something million and look like he's being loyal to the team that's stuck by him. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? He's definitely going to take the player option. That's if he comes back at all, because I know we don't really like getting into it too much with the whole Lonzo thing, but like he released footage there. What was it, last week? And he was kind of bounced around the gym. He was dunking, but at the same time, we've since found out that he's not sprinting. So, I mean, that's all good and well. You can't leave him at one end of the court and just expect him to do his thing. He has to be able to move up and down the court. And if he's still not able to sprint this far along, I mean, what we're basically looking at with Lonzo is if he does come back and if he is any kind of part of the player that he was, it's a miracle return, really. And it will be one of those great triumphant, comeback stories if he pulls it off. But I don't think historically it looks good for him, but who knows? Look, he could prove us all wrong, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much guarantee he's going to take that player option. Why not? It's a guaranteed 21 million in his back pocket.
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be a big pocket, like, but
could be just one check.
It's probably going to be the worst player option that has ever been given out, because I don't think he's going to be ready for by the off season or training camp or anything like that. and we'll be getting the constant things of Christmas, he'll be back at Christmas, he'll be back at Christmas, All-Star break, and then it's like, well, now he's got to ramp up, and then that's it, he's done. That's his time as a Bull done. So, yeah. Anyway, that's obviously for another time, all that Lonzo stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you got anything else on
just
Demar and his
speaking of
young'uns?
it. Yeah, I've got nothing else on Demar and his young'uns, but just talking about Lonzo made me think of other injuries, and we found out as well, or it just came to light that Caruso is also carrying an injury. Seemingly, he's been carrying a thumb injury for a little while, and he's actually openly come out and said that it's actually affecting his shot, which, you could certainly see that last night. He shot absolutely terrible last night. But he still affected the game in other ways, which is typical Caruso. But we've kind of become accustomed to him being able to hit those threes now. So now that he's not, it's kind of like, well, what's going on? Whereas before, we'd be quite used to him only getting maybe 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, and I mean, like you say, he still affected the game. I mean, did his first bucket come off a steal and a breakaway? Sort of, I don't know if he laid it up or slammed it, whatever he did, but that's Caruso in a nutshell. There, do you know what I mean? And it kind of got to a point where you're thinking to yourself, give him the ball, let him shoot it. Yeah. And last night it was no.
Stop shooting the ball.
Keep the ball away from him. And I put out that tweet, didn't I? I was at the end of the first where it said game plan for the second. Don't let Caruso shoot.
Right.
They didn't, and they come back. So put me in, coach.
They're always listening.
Obviously. So yeah, I've got nothing else apart from obviously predictions to come.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously up next is tomorrow night or Thursday morning, 2 a.m. for us. Why not? We've actually got 3 days and 3 games. If you look at the calendar, we've got Thursday morning, 2 a.m., Friday morning, 3 a.m., and then Saturday night, 9 p.m. to close out Bulls West Coast trip. Yeah. So yeah, like I say, first up is Utah Jazz tomorrow again in Utah. Obviously, 2 a.m. tip for us. What are you saying for that one?
Dub. Saying we take a win. We're flying high, and I think we're gonna take it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at what they're doing at the minute. They're currently 11th behind Warriors. They're 5 games behind Warriors. 5 games out of the playoffs, basically. They're playing, should I say. Did win the last game, but in the last 10, they had 2 of 8. So, yeah, you've got to look at it as a dub, but knowing this Bulls team, But, yeah, I'll say a dub for it as well. And then, funny enough, after that, we've got the 3 a.m. tip Friday against the 10th place Warriors. On a back-to-back on West Coast, 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. What's that?
I know. It's just rotten, isn't it?
Well, we'll still be there. Warriors lost the last game, but they are 7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah.
And they are above 500.
Yeah. Well, most of the teams up to 11th or 12th place in the West are above 500, aren't they? Yeah. I would say that the Bulls at that stage, they'll be burnt out. They'll be tired. They won't close out the 3-ball against a team that's renowned for shooting 3-ball well, and will take a loss against the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if they're on a back-to-back as well. Yeah, they've got Bucks tomorrow as well at home, so hopefully Bobby Portis can assault them and injure some of them. Not badly, obviously.
Not badly. Just enough for one game.
Yeah, maybe go toe-to-toe with Draymond.
Maybe.
Bit of entertainment. See if they are actually tough guys or not.
Two crazies.
I'll say it's an L as well. 9 p.m. Saturday, Clippers, best team in LA.
Yeah. Lost.
Yeah, simple as in it. You know, they're just
Yeah.
too much star power on that team. Although they have
Yeah.
just lost Westbrook, haven't they?
Yeah, he's broken his hand, hasn't he?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then next week, because we don't know when we'll be back, we've got Mavs on Monday night, so it's Tuesday morning for us, and then Pacers on the second of the back-to-back.
Yeah. Luka Doncic is just on a tear right now. I don't think we have an answer for him. So I'm going to say that's a double. A loss, should I say.
Yeah, I'll be the same, to be fair. And obviously then Pacers to round out this sort of 5-game run.
Yeah, well, I've got to throw a bit of positivity in there. So I say we take a win then against the Pacers, but it'll be tough.
Yeah, I mean, on the second of a back-to-back, it's never going to be easy, is it?
No.
But for some reason, since Pacers signed Siakam, they're a bit like Bulls, up and down, and you know. So yeah, I think we've both gone 2 wins, 3 losses there.
I think we agreed on everyone, did we? That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, so it won't happen. Bulls will make sure of that. We'll win the ones that we're not expected to, and lose the ones that we're expected to win. So not that we're expected to win any, but yeah. So yeah, I've got nothing else. I don't know if you have.
No, I'm all good.
Yeah, obviously, once again, apologies for any distractions and background music, but if we didn't get this one out, then no chance of doing one back end of the week because that schedule's just disgusting. You know,
it's brutal.
But we will be watching live because we're good like that, and we don't need sleep, as your little thing says. Sleep is for the weak.
Absolutely.
We can sleep on Sunday when it's all done.
I can sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah.
And the lack of sleep will probably kill me. But anyway.
Yeah, I've had a twitchy eye. I don't know if it's come across on camera, but my eye's twitching. I'm that tired. So.
Don't know, you've been moving ahead, looking at everybody going past you in that service station. So you've got away with it, I think.
It's coming back with that sweeper. He must have gone over the same spot about 10 times. And it's like, he's done it. He put his wet floor sign on now, so.
Oh, at least he's warning people.
Even though the floor's dry. But anyway, enough about my service station delights. As always, thanks for listening. And like I say, once again, apologies for the distractions and background noise, but that's how professional we are. We just wanted to get the content out for you.
Just got to find a way, whatever it takes.
Yeah. And like I say, we will be back at some point next week, maybe back end of next week, to be honest, looking at the schedule. So until then, I've been Matt. You can find me on Twitter at @CRedUK, and you can find us on all the socials at CRedUK.
And you'll find me on Twitter at NeillCRedUK. On behalf of both Matt and myself and the Fans First Sports Network, thanks once again to everyone for tuning in. From us both, do remember it's a Chicago Bulls thing wherever in the world you are. Until next time, see red people and go Bulls.